If you're a consulting business owner, you've likely thought about this, and it's a question that I get quite often, which is, what should I pay attention to? What mistakes do I need to avoid? What are the things that consulting business owners often fall prey to and really need to be careful or cautious of and look out for? So in this video, what I'm going to do is break down for you and share with you some of the most common mistakes that consultants and consulting business owners make so that you can avoid them. And this actually takes me kind of back to why we actually started Consulting Success about 15 years ago. So my cousin Sam and I, our dads are twins. Kind of funny story there, where people always get a chuckle out of it, like, you can't believe that, but they don't look like fraternal. So anyways, we started Consulting Success about 15 years ago because we had been building our own consulting businesses, both in North America, overseas in Japan, working with clients all around the world. And we were actually at a family barbecue one day. We were doing different things at that time. I had started another consulting business focused on lead generation. Sam was working for a publication as a marketing director. And we were at a family barbecue saying, we should do something together again, because we'd done a bunch of businesses in the past, but this time let's do something online. And when we thought about it, right, this was the very early days of the web, the days when the idea of like living and working anywhere, being a quote unquote digital nomad or being able to just make money online were very rare or not really understood. Nobody really talked about it. I know today it's very normal, but back then it wasn't. And we said, yeah, let's do something online together, because we'd like to create a business where we could live anywhere, we could travel and still be able to run our business. And so we started Consulting Success. It was a different name back then, but we started it really with the idea of sharing our experiences of building consulting businesses. The good, the bad, the ugly, with the hope, the desire that we would be able to accelerate the success of other consultants and avoid the mistakes that we'd made. And I can tell you firsthand that I've made a lot of mistakes over the years, especially in the early years, and I still make mistakes today. I mean, that's part of growing a business. That's part of venturing into new territories, right? When you're just getting started, you're going to make certain mistakes. When you're doing 6 figures per year, you're going to make certain mistakes. When you get to $1 million, you're going to make certain mistakes. When you get to multi-millions per year, you're going to make certain mistakes. And that just kind of keeps going. At least that's been my observation. There's always lessons that you can learn. And as long as you're learning the lessons, right, and learning from your quote unquote mistakes, it's not a bad thing, because it just makes you stronger. So I hope that in this video, I'll share with you several common mistakes that people make so that you can pay attention to them. And my true hope and desire is that you can apply this into your business. You'll know what to look out for. You can maybe course correct if you start to make these mistakes, or just pay attention to this going forward. All right, so the first very common mistake that consulting business owners make is they undervalue their expertise. This typically shows up like they price their services too low. They don't charge premium rates, generally because they're focusing too much on what they are giving the client. So think like outputs, think a report, doing interviews, right? So they talk about what they're going to do, but they don't talk about what that means for the client. They don't talk about the value for the client. Focusing much more on value, on outcomes, on the results means you can also increase your fees, because clients will see greater value, because your focus now is on the value that they will receive, not just on what you're going to do. This also separates you from other competitors who just charge an hourly fee or who just talk about the typical outputs and things they're going to do. So if you don't understand kind of what your expertise is worth in the market, if you're not communicating value, if you're not focusing on how your expertise creates significant outcomes and a return on investment for your clients, then you're likely undercharging by a lot. Now, the other connected mistake or issue that I see pop up a lot is that they're making poor choices when it comes to their pricing strategies, or they're not being strategic at all with their pricing. For example, they're using hourly billing models. They're not implementing value-focused or ROI-focused fees. They're not using different tiered levels of pricing options. They're not thinking about profitability inside of the different service offerings that they're providing to clients. If you don't have an adequate, or if you don't have an effective pricing strategy, you are likely leaving tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars on the table every single year. And in some cases, for some of you, it might be, to that level almost every single month. And we've seen this so consistently with clients that we work with in our Clarity Coaching program. If you want more information on that, you can click on the link below this video. But this is where we work with clients and really help them to get a more effective pricing strategy in place. And this is probably one of the lowest hanging fruit areas, because you can start to see an impact on this very, very quickly, especially if you already have some lead flow, you have some opportunities, right? You're putting out proposals and meeting with clients to talk about them. Changing your pricing strategy can really change the whole trajectory of your business overnight. And I don't say that lightly, because I know that might sound a little bit like internet marketing and hypey, and no, really, if you have the right pricing strategy, you can earn significantly more. And of course, you need to know how to communicate that, right? Convey that, make it compelling, have the right positioning around it. But we've seen many clients, I'm talking hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of clients over the years who, by shifting their approach to pricing, have doubled, tripled, or in some cases, quadrupled or more their business in a relatively short period of time because they've adjusted how they approach pricing. So if you want help with that or talk about that, click on the link that's below this video, or just go to consultingsuccess.com, click on coaching. All right, let's talk about the next area here. And that is a lack of specialization. And this ties into pricing, because if you are perceived as a generalist in the marketplace, you're going to be seen very similar to other generalists. And most people out there are generalists, which means that you're, again, positioning yourself as a commodity. You're also trying to serve everyone or too many people. And in the market that we're in, it's been like this for years, and I only believe this will continue, is that the market really rewards specialists a lot more than it does generalists. And so if you don't have a very clear, unique value proposition, if you can't position what you're offering and what you're doing as being different than others in the marketplace, you're gonna lose the battle, right? You're gonna have a really hard time getting conversations. So you'll find your marketing likely won't work for you as well, because your messaging is weak, because your messaging is watered down, because it's trying to say too many things to too many different people, okay? So this is why specialization and really focusing on differentiation are key. Now, another issue that comes up is poor client selection. This, in the early days, kind of shows up or looks like you accept every potential client. And I'll say that in the early days, that's not a bad strategy or not a bad decision to make. I do believe that in the very early days of your business, it's okay to experiment. It's okay to be flexible. It's okay to take on projects and clients just to get a better sense of what you really like doing. What are you great at doing? What do you not like doing? And you won't know that until you actually get in there and start to do it. So early on, that's fine. But to grow your consulting business, accepting every client and every type of project can be disastrous, right? So you want to make sure that you're screening clients for ideal fit. You want to have a criteria and characteristics and ideally values that you're thinking through or you're using as a kind of decision-making criteria or decision-making filter that you apply to ensure that the clients that you're targeting, that you're reaching out to, that you're having conversations with, and ultimately the ones that you are bringing in as clients align with all of those values and the criteria and characteristics that you've kind of drawn up or decided upon. Because it's very, unfortunately, common to see consultants who take on projects where they had a bit of a red flag, they had a bit of a feeling in their stomach, this is probably not the right thing, but they end up taking it and then they regret it. And even though they might make a whole bunch of money on that project, it's usually not something that they feel good about later on. And so you can avoid that by establishing that kind of criteria. Now, another mistake that people make is inconsistent marketing. So this typically looks like the roller coaster, right? At one point, they're doing a lot with their marketing, then all of a sudden they get busy doing client work and delivery, their marketing drops off. Then all of a sudden they don't have any clients or their pipeline's very thin. And so they start to try and then do more marketing. And that roller coaster is really bad for your business, because marketing is something that needs to compound. The more that you do it and the more consistently you do it, as long as you're doing the right type of marketing, it will pay dividends, right? It'll create significant opportunities for you. It'll build a robust pipeline for you, but it can't be something that happens sometimes. So having a system for your marketing to help you with your lead generation, to fill your pipeline, is really key. And if you're only relying on referrals, if you're only relying on your network, I mean, in the early days, if you're just getting started, that's likely all you need. But as soon as you get beyond that, if you want to grow to new levels, or if you start finding that your network is not delivering the kind of results that you were hoping that it would, or it's just stopped, it's kind of getting thinner or drier, as you might say, then that's an indication that you really need to ramp up your marketing, and you should not be relying solely on referrals to get to that next level of growth. So make sure that not only are you using and that you have clarity and know what your plan is. Do you have a strategic marketing plan? Do you have a growth plan in place? Do you know what you need to be doing? Is it just kind of haphazard? You're throwing stuff at the wall hoping that something sticks? Or is it actually planned out? Have you thought through who the ideal client is? Do you have a message that's going to get their attention and their interest, right? Do you have a way to get in front of them where you can demonstrate your expertise and provide a very compelling message so that you can create a conversation and so that they're interested in learning more? Right? These are all at a high level, the backbone of what makes marketing effective. So you need to make sure that you have that. And if you neglect business development, if you spend too much time only delivering on client projects, it means that, again, you won't have time to work on your business. And that might feel okay in the moment, and it might feel like the right thing to do because clients should come first. The problem with that is if you don't have your marketing and your business development going, you don't have a business. And that means that you're not going to actually be able to help the people that you want to help. So it might be okay for the 1 or 2 clients you have right now, but for everyone else that you want to help going forward in your business, you won't have a business if you're not actively doing business development, marketing, and sales. So all of these need to be part of your plan. They need to be part of your activities. And so make sure that you're not avoiding and that you are not neglecting working on your business growth, right? You want to, of course, be working in your business, helping clients, delivering great results, but you also need to be making time to work on your business. Otherwise, you're going to find that you're falling behind, you're not getting traction. It's roller coaster, hit or miss, feast or famine. And these are all the things that ultimately can take people out of business. Now, another mistake, very common mistake that consultants make is that they have poor, or in some cases, no boundaries with clients. And so this can show up in many ways, but generally it's due to a lack of setting clear expectations. This can show up then as you working on a project with the client asks you to do something else. You say okay because you don't want to upset the client. You're worried that they, might get upset with you, or that they might not value you or not pay you, or whatever's going on in your mind. But when you say yes to something so quickly without having a thoughtful conversation, without putting together an additional proposal because it's beyond the scope of work, and you're telling the client that it's okay to just throw more stuff at you and that you'll do it. And then they start to throw more stuff at you, which in many cases is not what they should actually be doing. It's not good for them. They haven't thought through it enough. And it also devalues you and your work, because you're essentially saying that your time is not worth very much, right? Your expertise is not worth very much because you're not charging additional for that. You're not taking the time to think through that process. So this really results in what is defined as and called scope creep. And so you want to make sure that you're not making yourself just overly available. You want to make sure that you're very clear in setting expectations with your client before the project and throughout the project. And you also want to make sure that you have some clear limits, right? That might kind of appear in terms of your availability. If a client sends you an email at 9 p.m. at night, you don't need to respond to it. If they send you an email at 5 p.m. and you're going off to spend time with your kids or to have dinner, you don't need to respond to it. If you've set the expectation that, yeah, I'm available 24/7, then of course that's what they're going to expect. But you're not an emergency plumbing service. You're not a restoration company that's their business model, is to be available 24/7. So set the right expectations. In almost all cases, the communication that clients have with you is not an emergency, right? Nobody's going to die if you don't respond until the next morning. So set those boundaries, respect those boundaries. It's better for you and it's better for your clients. All right, let's talk then about another mistake that consultants often make, and that is that they lack a systematic approach. They don't have things documented inside of their business. And that means that they're often kind of creating new things with each new client. Why is that bad? Well, it creates a lot of waste. It creates inefficiency. It reduces your profitability. And because of all that, it means that you're not going to have an optimal or efficient or effective consulting business. It also means that if you're always creating new things and not using something that you've created before, you're likely going to have more errors and not provide as high-level results because you're not using what you've used before. And this is really why productization is so powerful, because the whole idea behind productization is that you're doing the same or very similar thing over and over again. You're reusing as much of your IP, right? Your intellectual property, your body of work, your systems, your processes, your methodology. You're reusing it. Therefore, it's going to get better and better, rather than just putting your eyes to something completely new and, likely there's a whole bunch of waste because it's brand new, that's natural. So the more systems that you have, the better. Now, the other reason why systems, processes, documentation, or SOPs, right, standard operating procedures, are so powerful is it allows you to train people. It allows you to build a team. And this can be contractors, freelancers, full-time, part-time. But the more that you document in your business, the better and more valuable your business will become in terms of training people, but also in terms of the valuation of your business. If you ever decided or want to sell it, because everything inside the business relies on you and it sits only in your mind, then there's nothing for somebody to buy. There's no value. But if you have systems, if you have methodologies, if you have everything documented and you have other people that can actually implement on those systems and the business can function without your direct involvement, well, now you likely have an asset and something that people would be interested in potentially purchasing. Let's take this a little bit more personal for a moment here. Other common mistake that I see in a lot of consultants is they undervalue personal development. And that means that they're not investing themselves as much as they can or should be. My personal kind of belief around this, because I've been going through this myself for over 20 years now, is that the greatest growth that I personally, as well as our business, has witnessed over the years always comes from work that we're doing with others, meaning coaches, mentors, right? Investing ourselves into programs. And I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars over the years doing this. Why? Because it works, right? If you think about the people who are the top in any walk of life, in any industry, they got there not just by doing things in isolation, right? The top athletes have coaches. The top singers have coaches. The top business executives have coaches. In most cases, the top relationships, right, have some form of therapy. There's work that is being done there. This doesn't happen in isolation. And so if you're trying to do everything yourself, if you're trying to kind of reinvent the wheel, not only will it take you longer to see results, you're likely to make a lot more mistakes, and you're probably shortchanging yourself. You're going to hold yourself back because your ceiling, or what you think is possible, is only what you think is possible. But somebody who's already at that next level will know that there's a whole additional level or levels of possibility to go from where you are to where you want to be. Likely faster, cheaper, and in a more effective way. I have a whole bunch of notes here on this, but let me offer a couple more. And if you guys like this, let me know in the comments, either if you're listening to the podcast or if you're on YouTube or on LinkedIn. Post in the comments, let me know, and I'm happy to share more of these. Let's do one more before we wrap up here. So here's a very common one, and that is neglecting client retention. Most business owners, and this goes even beyond the world of consulting, but most business owners tend to focus on bringing on new clients, and they don't focus enough on retaining existing clients. Your existing clients are the key that you can use to unlock significantly higher levels of growth in your business. They are cheaper. You've already acquired the client. And so there's no cost to go out and acquire a new client, which in some cases can be significant. So you already have that. So higher profitability, right, on every new project with an existing client. The sales cycle is shorter because you've already worked with them. In many cases, it can be one conversation, right, or a couple of conversations, and boom, an extra $50,000, $150,000, $1 million plus engagement can happen like that because you've already built the rapport, the trust, and you've delivered on that additional project. So I've talked about this in other videos, but you always should be thinking about how to increase the lifetime value of your clients. You should be thinking about how you can get your clients to stay with you for as long as possible. Now, I don't mean outstay your welcome. If you have no additional value to add to that client, then you should wish them their best, wish them on their way. But if you can add value for them, whether with your existing services and just working with them for a longer period of time, because there's still a lot more that can be done, or with additional products or services that you might offer that they haven't yet taken advantage of, right? Or maybe you have higher levels of your offerings. These are all ways to increase your retention. And when you do, you'll typically find that your profitability, soars. Of course, your revenue does, but your profitability will also soar because, again, the cost to acquire that client and the cost to typically service that client are going to be less because of the relationship and because of the body of work or the experience you already have working with them. All right, those are a few mistakes to avoid, or hopefully lessons that you can take and look at how you are applying those in your business or not, and then course correct from there. If you're interested in taking your business from where it is today to that next level of consulting success, there's a link below this video. You can click on that, schedule a conversation to talk about your specific situation. If you don't see a link somewhere on this page, then just go over to consultingsuccess.com and click on coaching. You can read all about the Clarity Coaching Program and how we've worked with thousands of consultants, helping them to take their business from getting started to 6 figures, to 7 figures, to multi-7 figures. We have different programs depending on what stage you're at, and we'll be very happy just to hop on a call with you to chat about your current situation, where you are, where you want to get to help you to start to build a plan so that you know what actually needs to happen. What does it take to go from where you are to reach your next level of growth? And then if we can help you to achieve that, we'll let you know what that looks like. All right, so again, I hope this is helpful. Let me know in the comments or somewhere here around this video if you enjoyed this video and what topics you'd like me to cover in an upcoming video or on the Consulting Success podcast.